Aziz have spoken about the overall skills required for the future. I'm going to zoom a bit about the accounting profession and talk a bit more in details about the accounting profession. So again, if we look how the accounting profession is evolving, the typical hard skills that we learn, the debits, the credits, all of this is now done by machines. So it's really a different, completely different skills required. So if you look at the audit profession, it's changing. If you look at the accounting profession, it's changing. So just to give you a few examples, when we talk about a CFO, which is Chief Financial Officer, in the past, the job of the CFO was, their role is to produce the financials, make sure the financials are accurate, and it's kind of to protect the company assets. So they always had the oversight over the numbers and give feedback on those numbers. And of course, their job was ensure compliance, reporting, and producing all those reports. This is history. This is all gone. It's no longer exists. You will not be hired as a CFO if your job is only to do that. So if we look at today's CFO, it's more they have to create value. So it's not only producing the financials. How do you make decisions out of those financials that bring value to the company? So it's not more now towards insight and foresight, projection out of those numbers. What do we see, and how are we going to take decisions based on that? And it's really the role of a CFO. If you look at it now in accounting and finance, it's evolving. Now they're involved. If the latest survey I was reading about CFOs, the main concern in today's world in 2022, what's keeping the CFO awake at night is supply chain and logistics, because there's a shortage. So they are getting involved in procurement now. So the role of a CFO is encompassing the typical accounting and finance to include more strategy, operations, data analytics, and definitely other parts of the business. So again, this is something we see it more and more often with the roles of CFO. So if I want to look only at accounting and finance, what are the skills required? We spoke about, Aziz spoke about the future skills, overall what you need to survive in today's world. If I move into the details of accounting, so the number one now we talk about is data analysis. So as an accountant or a finance person, you really need to be able to turn data into, relay that information to be able to make decisions, okay? That drives the inside information about the organization. Definitely now, because the role of accounting and finance is expanding, so you're now communicating not only within the accounting department, but outside with the customers, with the marketing department, with various departments. So communication has to be very efficient. It is required now as a skill requirement for accountants. How you translate the numbers into action plans and you communicate that. Definitely, it's about building relationships now, accountants, because you're managing people within your department and you're managing other, I wouldn't say managing, you're collaborating with other departments. So you have to have those skills to build those relationships within the functional teams outside the typical finance. Definitely risk management, and you have to be very creative here, how you manage risk. Yes, we all hear about various certification in risk management and certain controls, but really nothing works if you don't use your creative mind, how to avoid or how you plan for emergencies. So that's becoming a top requirements within the finance team or accountants to be involved in that, and how to solve now complex and non-financial problems as well. So here we're talking about creativity. Again, you need to have the general business acumen. It's not only the technical expertise in accounting. You can be the best person to prepare financial statement, the best person who understands completely IFRS or US GAAP, you know about audit. If you don't have the business acumen, you're never gonna be moved up the ladder. Aziz mentioned about the tax savviness. So using different platforms to analyze the financials, to adapt very quickly. And the last thing is we talk about soft skills. So really, if you look now at the big four, a lot of the big four now, or the large 10 accounting firms, when they're hiring staff, they're not hiring for their technical expertise. They're hiring for their attitude and the skills level. And once they join the organization, they are training them on the technical skills. I'm not saying technical skills are not important, but it's no longer the top priority of those firms. A pure example, one of the big four, I'm not going to mention names, they came to us. They want to hire thousands of people, junior auditors, to work as auditors, but their requirement was, we don't want to hire accountants. We want to hire engineers. We want different set of skills. And for the accounting, we're going to train them how to become auditors. So we're talking about what Aziz have mentioned, having skills in project management, leadership, critical thinking, how to negotiate. So these are becoming very critical elements for auditors and accountants in order to be able to find and land good jobs. So again, the career is evolving. Historically, we know a typical accountant was a bookkeeper with this book, ledger, writing. This is what we thought of when I grew up. That was the typical accountant. We moved from being a bookkeeper, recording entries, into an accountant, which is producing financials. It evolves accountants. A lot of them shifted to become auditors. Then we talk about management accountants, people who are specialized within the organization about budgeting and costing. And finally, we reach to be a business partner. So as a finance person, you're no longer labeled as an auditor or accountant. You're more of a business partner. And you will see it among large organizations. CFO plays a big role in all aspects of the business. Now, having said that, let me move into the CPA. We spoke enough about the skills, but the beautiful thing is how the CPA ties up with all what we have spoken with. Let me just, for you who do not know what is CPA, CPA stands for Certified Public Accountant. It is the highest level you can reach in the US on the professional side, not academic, on the professional side. It is considered as a postgraduate certification because you have to have a bachelor degree in order to sit for that exam. And some states require more than a bachelor degree. So again, Aziz mentioned about Robert Half. So that's a US national medium salary. I don't know if it applies other outside, but there's 6% growth until the year 2028 expected in salaries. Now as we have done surveys, what's the benefit of a US CPA? One is, what I've seen is the career satisfaction. Candidates who hold the CPA have demonstrated that they are very happy with their career. Definitely, it takes them on a faster career development. It's highly respected. It's a global designation. It is the designation of the largest economy in the world, let's face it. I'm not saying that the CPA is better than the Indian CA or the British. They're all highly professional. It's just that it happens, the largest corporates around the world they want to be listed on the US stock market. And this is a driving force for the US CPA. It gives you security, like wherever you go, whether you sit for the CPA exam in India or in New York, a CPA is CPA. Nobody's going to question your degree. And definitely we are all in this. The end result is we want to make more money, have a nicer house, drive a nicer car. The end result is you want to earn more money and secure yourself and your family. So in order to qualify for the US CPA exam, there's two criteria. One criteria to qualify for the exam. You should have a minimum of a bachelor degree. From an accredited university. Most of the universities we deal with in India are accredited. So the US, the Indian educational system, it is recognized in the US. that you need to have a minimum of a bachelor, you have to be a major in business, and a minimum of, on an average of around 12 credits in accounting. If you come from a non-business major or non-accounting major, there are exceptions, but it's very hardly to get into the CPA, to be eligible to sit for the CPA exam. You have to have a bachelor degree, and you have to have major in business with minimum 12 credits in accounting. So if you are now planning to move ahead and you want to do your CPA, my advice is try to take all your elective courses in accounting and finance, because you need to accumulate a minimum of 12 to 15 credits. This is for you to qualify to sit for the exam. Now, in order to have the title CPA next to your name, you need to sit for the exam. So you have to meet your educational requirements. Additionally, you have to have a minimum of 2 years experience, between 2 and 3 years, depends whether it's an audit experience or non-audit experience, and you need to pass the 4 parts examination with a minimum average of 75% on each part. So just to summarize it and make it simple, to sit for the exam, you have to be an accounting major. In order to have the title CPA next to your name, you have to pass the 4 parts examination with a minimum average of 75% per part, and you have to provide between 1 and 3 years of experience. The experience can be obtained before or after sitting for the exam. It doesn't matter when you earn your experience. As long as you have it, you should not have any problem. And of course, the Indian experience is counted as well. Now, a lot of candidates say, I want to start my CPA. How should I start? From where I start? The first thing you need to do is you need to contact the university, and you need to provide your transcripts. We will look at your transcript, we'll look at your evaluation, and we will advise you whether you are eligible or not. If you are eligible, we need to start the process of registering you for the exam. So based on your educational background, we will advise you on which state board you should apply for the exam. We will send your paperwork. We get something called notice to schedule, that you have been approved to sit for the exam, and then you register for the exam in the state board where you want to be licensed from. Now, it doesn't matter which state board, they're all the same. It's a one uniform examination. It's just we want to make sure your educational background meets up with the state board that you are applying for. Whether you sit in Alaska or New York, once you pass the exam, it's not going to make a difference. Now, just a few highlights about the exam. It's a 100% computer-based exam. It's a computerized, where you sit in front of a computer and you have to answer the questions. It is held internationally and in the U.S. In India, last year, the exam became available. The type of questions you have is called objective-based questions, which are made of either multiple choice questions, where you have a question and then 4 options. You have to choose the right option out of the 4. Or you have task-based simulation. Task-based simulation, they give you a big case, and then there are several questions you need to answer regarding that case. It could be multiple choice questions. It could be true or false. It could be draft an opinion, audit opinion. It could be prepare an income statement. You expect anything on the task-based simulation. It could be a research where they tell you, this is the situation, please do the research and come back to us. So you have multiple choice question and task-based simulation. It is 100% computer graded. And the minimum to pass the exam is 75%. And once you pass one part, you have 18 months to complete the remaining parts. So let's say you pass the first part, financial accounting, you scored 80%, you have 18 months to complete the remaining 3 parts. If you don't complete them within a period of 18 months, then you have to repeat the parts that you have passed, you have to repeat them again. Oops, what happened here? Sorry.
Do you have control, Fadi?
Yeah, I have control. I just want to see what happened to the
slide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's back.
We're back. Yeah. So, like I've mentioned, the type of question. The type of question, you have multiple choice, you have task-based simulation. Only in one part you have written communication. So they're not testing you for English. You're not being tested for TOEFL or English course. They just want to make sure that you use the right terminology, you're professional in your writing, you address the topic correctly. And the written communication is only applied on one part. The next slide will show you which part. So the 4 parts of the exam is, the first part is auditing and attestation. You have 72 multiple choice questions and 8 task-based simulation. And you are familiar. If you major in accounting, you've taken auditing course, nothing is new to you here. You're familiar with many of those topics. Then we move into the regulation. Again, 76 multiple choice question and 8 task simulation. Regulation is totally new to you. So we're talking here about the U.S. taxes. We're talking about the corporate tax, estate tax, and individual tax. And there are other items as well. It is totally new to you. It is 4 hours. Each part is 4 hours exam. And then you have the financial accounting. It's 66 multiple choice questions and 8 task-based simulation, 4 hours exam. Then we move into the business environment and concepts. This is the only part where they test you on your communication, written communication. So you have less multiple choice questions, less task-based simulation, and 4 task-based simulation and 4 hours exam. Total examination hours is 16. Each part has to be passed by a minimum of 75. Let me tell you one thing. Globally, the passing rates. People would think the highest passing rate will be on the financial accounting or the auditing. What we have seen is that when you look at the passing rates, the highest passing rates for international candidates is the regulation, which is the U.S. taxes. And the lowest part that they have on the exam is the financial accounting. That's the global trend. If we look at zoom into the auditors, most of the auditors, they ace the remaining 3 parts of the exam and they fail the audit. The message I'm trying to get to you here is that it doesn't matter what's your GPA, how many years of experience, is how much focus you spend studying and using the Becker tools to pass those exams. So regulation, because it's a new topic for most of the candidates, they're scared of it. They spend a lot of time and they ace that exam. If we look at the auditing, a lot of the people who are auditors, they say, oh, I have 7-8 years experience. I don't need to study that. And they fail the exam. So really the trick to passing those exams is really don't count on your experience or your GPA. It helps, but the focus should be on solving previous exam questions. This is too technical. I'm going to skip this, but just so you understand, when you walk into the exam, you will be given a code, you launch the code, you will sign, you have 5 minutes to read the copyrights and confidentiality, and then you go into the exam. So you have the first set of multiple choice questions, they called it the first testlet, then another testlet multiple choice question, then the third testlet multiple choice questions, and then you have the first set of task-based simulation, and then you have the written communication or task-based communication, and then you do a survey, you close the survey, and the exam is finished. The exam is 4 hours, but you have 5 minutes to launch and sign on confidentiality, and 5 minutes you need as well to close the survey. You can take a break if you want to go to the washroom. It's always advisable you take the break not within the same testlet. Once you close the testlet, you take the break between the testlets. And then the clock will pause it when it's between them. Now, the second question we get asked is which part you should start with. Shall you start with the audit or the financial? It's a 4-part examination. You can start with any part. It doesn't matter. Statistics-wise, people who start with the financial does not mean they have a higher passing rate than those who started audit. It really does not matter. It's a personal choice. Some people prefer to start with the most difficult part for them, pass the exam and gain the confidence level. And some people say, no, I want to start with the easiest part. I'll get it over and I will gain the confidence. It is really a personal choice how you want to do it. Now, on the exam day, just a few more tips I want to give you is that it's a computer-based environment. You walk into a room, there's computers. You really need to arrive early. I'm saying those because a lot of candidates from experience have missed one of the things. First of all, you need to arrive early. You have to have 2 identification with an ID in order to be admitted to the exam. So it's a passport or national ID with a picture. You have a place to store. If you have any books or anything, you can store your stuff over there. You pass through the security. Then they will give you a noteboard. You launch the code and you start the exam. This is on the day. Very important, you start early. You're not allowed to bring any paper, books, food are not allowed into the exam. Drinking, tobacco, you're not allowed to. Of course, you're not allowed to communicate with other candidates. Calculators will be provided to you, part of the platform that you'll be tested on. So you're not allowed to bring your own computer, mobile calculator, or any recording devices. And if you want to go to the washroom, you always have to take a permission to leave the room to go to the washroom. Now I'm going to give it back to Aziz to speak